How will inflation affect the housing boom? Stay tuned. Welcome to this week's edition of NoteSchool TV, and we have today, we have our monthly industry update. By popular demand, you guys, our viewers, chose this as your favorite episode every month, and we absolutely love to deliver this and what's going on in the world of notes and real estate and finance. So before we get into that, and we're going to jump into that very quickly because we have a lot to go through, three things. Number one, I want you guys to like what you see. So just, press that like, give us a thumbs up there. And also, if you have not already, make sure that you subscribe to our NoteSchool channel so that you can see what we've been doing and how we've evolved since, October of 2020 when we started doing NoteSchool TV. And then also don't forget to hit that bell notification. Yep, go ahead and hit it so that you will be forewarned every week that we will be going live when? Every Wednesday at 11:05 p.m. Central. Actually, guys, that's 11:05 a.m. Central. 11:05 a.m. Central. And for those of you that want to know more about NoteSchool, where you're like, wow, these guys are great, right? And want to know more, look, just go ahead and go to noteschool.com/TV. Again, noteschool.com/TV. And we would love to help you any way that we can with more information. If you want this slide deck, you can let us know on that as well. And, we'll take it from there. But we love to hear from you guys. So keep those comments and questions coming. With that, I am going to invite our esteemed leader, our chief visionary, and just all around great guy, Mr. Eddie Speed. How are you this morning?
Hello, Joe.
Good morning.
How are you?
You know what? I am excited. It is always a buzz of activity around here the last few days before we bring this to you guys every month. And I think we've nailed it. I think we've got right there in the center of the target, sir.
Well, I hope we have. I was telling Adam before we started, I said, when we do the market update once a month, we end up with about 9 to 12 topics, completely different topics.
Right.
And we have probably 6 articles on each of those topics, sometimes 16. And we have a team that gathers stuff all month. And then we have to pare down what we can cover inside of 30 or 40 minutes, right? And we usually make this a little bit long. So, Joe, I thought your headline today really nailed it.
Yeah.
The talk of the town is inflation.
Right.
And so we're going to talk about where we're at in the market and maybe a little bit where the hockey puck is going, not just where the market is now, but maybe where it's going. We try to stop short of making an absolute prediction. I'll just tell you this, Joe, everything that should have happened in housing through the pandemic is really what didn't happen.
Right.
And so we know one thing. We make money. We close more deals when we understand what the market is and we understand where there's voids in the market.
That's exactly right, Eddie. We have been saying that for, a little over 2 years now, right? Since this whole thing started to begin. And it's there's a lot out there. And as you like to say, there's a lot of hot sports opinions as to kind of what's going on, but we just want to bring you the facts, right?
Let's do that. Let's bring them up and let's talk about it. We're going to talk about really where I think the market is. And obviously, Joe, mortgage rates.
So, here it is. Fed will hike rates by 75 basis points in June and July. So, Eddie, we've got the Federal Reserve will meet again. Chairman Powell, and it'll be the middle of May, like the 15th. And what they're saying is that 75 basis points, excuse me, I skipped ahead there with my pen, is the new 50 basis points, right? So half, but really about 0.75% in rate hike.
Yeah. And so, Joe, when I think you initially sent this, and then we kind of got on a mission and we started chasing other opinions.
Digging deeper, yep.
Right? Because this is an opinion that says the feds are raising rates, they're going up. And then we started specifically looking at mortgage rates. So now let's look at your next slide.
Yeah, and by the way, Eddie, this is already on top of 1.5% rate raises already this year. So yeah, why don't you kind of talk about this one here? It's pretty interesting.
Well, I think it's funny because this gave three different opinions, right? Mortgage bankers, National Association of Realtors, and then Zillow, senior economist for Zillow, Speakman. And I thought it was funny because then we started really doing research, and let me just tell you something. Opinions must be like other things, Joe. Everybody's got one, so to speak, right?
Yeah, I had a baseball coach that used to say that very eloquently.
So here's what's really interesting. Mortgage rates at the moment are not the problem. Right. We're going to look at some historical rates here in a minute. We've seen rates almost this high in 2018, Joe.
Yeah.
Right. It's not like we've never seen rates before.
Right.
Rates were about this high in around 2008.
That's right.
This is not the issue.
No.
Right. Now, it's a shock factor, and realtors that I know say that their phones are not ringing the way they were. So people are a little bit in shock. Right. I've got some property for sale that if we'd had it on the market 60 days ago, we would already have a contract on it. It's been on the market 10 days and it's not sold yet. Right.
And you're disappointed in that.
I can't believe I'm saying this, by the way. I've been doing this 42 years. Okay, I can't believe I'm even saying that.
Yep.
Right.
That's right.
And but the truth of the matter is this is where rates are, right? The question is, where is the hockey puck going?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so talk about this one, Joe.
Well, so, the two of the five biggest banks, Wells Fargo and JPMorgan Chase, here's the headline, right? The top deposit reported double-digit declines in originations. And what does that mean for everybody else? Well, here's the big deal, right? Oh, let me go back here. So both are calling for a big storm. They're saying that, well, housing prices are going to drop, rates are going to go up could inch up to 8%. And, it's just a call by, well, two banks. And I don't know, are they the smartest guys in the room? Who knows, right?
We've Googled about 20, so we got plenty of opinions.
Well, and then this is what's really, for me, when I read this about Fannie Mae cuts origination projections, and we look at this and we go, so Fannie Mae expects mortgage originations to total 2.8 trillion in 2022 this year, and to 2.4 trillion in 2023.
That's a lot. That's a lot now.
That's a lot.
$2.8 trillion. But look below. Last year, $4.5 trillion. Now, Joe, that's not exactly half, but that's scaring the heck out of half of the amount of production.
Yeah.
This is why when you read these stories, these headlines, which we've had in here before, and they talk about they're laying off half their employees. Well, there's a reason for it. This is drastically affecting it. Listen, for our friends in the mortgage industry, the market is what the market is. We didn't cause the market.
Right.
Okay. We didn't cause the market. We're not gloating over your market condition. Now, let me say this. That means that the tighter the market, Joe, the more the market has a need for an alternative. You see where I'm going with this?
Yeah, absolutely.
When the big boys it didn't fix in the market problem, then it's kind of like water. It just seeks its lowest level. And so it's going to find another way to go. And the other way to go historically in my 42-year career has been creative financing.
Yeah.
So understand that this is probably a reflection. You can almost guarantee it, Joe. This is a reflection of a surge in our industry.
Right.
Because we're not the traditional mortgage industry.
Wells, JPMorgan, all of them are talking about layoffs because of this piece right here. I mean, it's
bet you my best pair of Texas cowboy boots that employees from Wells and a lot of these big banks will show up at NoteSchool in the next 60 days looking for an alternative way to make a living. Yeah. I'll bet it's happened every time before. Bet it does this time. You guys welcome. Come on in. The water's fine.
That's right. Right. We're good. We've got a piece of it figured out anyway, right?
Yeah. Well, we've been banging at it a while, right?
Yeah. And then, of course, according to HousingWire, mortgage applications nosedive as rates continue to soar. And look at this, Eddie. Adjustable rate mortgages surged up to 8.5% of total application. Yeah, because what? A 530, adjustable, same for the first 5 years. Or no, it's a 330. They're at 4% right now, and but what are they going to be when they adjust in 3 to 5 years?
Yeah, so when rates rise, we really haven't seen any adjustable rate product. We're going to see a lot more of that. And basically, Joe, the bottom line is this: who hasn't refied at this point? There's some stragglers that are finally getting closed right now, is what appraisers are telling me. But the truth be told, nobody sees any production behind this in the refi world.
Right.
And they're just, listen, Joe, when there's less than 1 million houses on the market and there needs to be 2 million, there just isn't that many pieces of real estate closing. The mortgage industry is not busy. They were busy doing refis. And we talked about that a lot as that was happening. So purchase money applications were down 14% from the same a year ago. So new purchase applications are down and refis are obviously in the tank.
Well, yeah, I mean, 68% from the same week last year, and then we've got 14% here. That's some big numbers.
All right. Let's talk about why this has happened.
Yeah.
Okay. And Joe, one of the big things on the forecast is, the single family starts and the multifamily starts. Let's talk about some numbers here, and let's get a forecast of what the builders and people that are putting new product on the table, what are they seeing?
Well, and as we look at these percentages here, so single family, they're again not wanting to kind of get stuck in the fray there. So single family, so the builders go in, they apply for a permit. So this is the decline in permits in March, and so single family housing permits decreased 1.7%, which is down to 1.2 million, which is the seasonally adjusted rate. Now, this could change during the year, right? But this is what it would be if things were to continue just like they're continuing. It could be adjusted much lower than this, right, throughout the year, because this is just these are March's numbers. But look at the other part of this, Eddie.
Multifamily's up.
Now, 593 units. Now, that doesn't mean it's just 593 units, Eddie. That just means that it could have been an apartment building that has 150 units or 250 units. This is based on buildings.
Not doors.
Not doors, but buildings. Right.
Can you say overbuilt?
Eddie, this has been on fire, just like single family has. But oh my God.
All right. So the other thing, Joe, that I was at a meeting last week and I got one of our guys to go do this. And Joe, this is starting around 2012. And it's mortgage rates. And look at mortgage rates at 2019 right there. And then look at mortgage rates. So 2019, if you see it, it goes up to about where rates are right now. Now, by the way, I just want to be clear about this. When it says mortgage rates are 5.13%, that is not the lion's share of people that are getting a mortgage. That is not their rates.
That's right.
Right?
Those are the most highly qualified mortgage borrowers, right? Great credit, almost 20% down, and the debt to income ratio fits in that box, right, Eddie?
So this is the best of the best of the best. It is not the lion's share of people that are getting a mortgage. Those people are paying about 1.5% higher rates, right? They're getting close to 7%. So I realize that's what the chart says, but you got to know something more behind the headlines, or the headlines are a little deceiving.
Yeah.
I don't see, honestly, Joe, we've just been in an artificial market. Rates have just been artificially low. Look at that dip that goes down in 20 and 21. That's just crazy.
Well, this was the low, Eddie. I mean, this was I think the low was in 2021, which was, I think it was this time last year, and it was about 2.65 was what that low was last year.
Look at that hockey stick up, though. Right? Look at that hockey stick going up.
Yeah.
And the thing is, Joe, if that stops, this is probably not a conversation. It probably doesn't affect the housing market that much. And people are just having a higher payment. But as you look at historically, that's not a big deal. Right? The big deal is inflation.
Yep.
And this just shows you over a longer period of time. See, rates were just under 7%, Joe, in 2007 and 8.
Mm-hmm. Here,
right?
So they were here and then here.
So understand, we've seen all these markets, all these rates, and that's 5%.
Yep.
And when you look at the 5% line right now, it doesn't seem like it's that big of a deal. It's a big deal because we got used to 2%, right? Here's the deal. The deal is, where is the hockey puck going?
Yeah.
So, Joe, it's pretty simple, right? You've read a lot about this. Let's go back to that for a second, because I want to stay on rate before I get to credit.
Okay.
You've read a lot about it. But, Joe, let me ask you a question. If inflation doesn't break, what is almost a guaranteed counterbalance that is going to happen?
Well, the money supply continues to shrink, right?
And it's just they're going to raise rates. They're going to raise rates as an inflationary battle. And I mean, does anybody really say that's not going to happen, Joe? If inflation continues,
right? And Eddie, it was huge. It was 8.5 last month. And a little quick stat on that, Eddie. The last time that inflation was that high was 40 years ago, and that was in October of 1981. And Eddie, what were mortgage interest rates back then?
20%. I asked somebody at a meeting the other day, and they were giving me all this forecast and high inflationary markets and what rates we're going to do. I said, how many people do you know that were in the industry the last time inflation was this high? And they're like, well, I don't know. And I said, one, me.
Right.
And I was in the market in that. And by the way, Joe, that was the biggest bonanza that I've ever seen in the note business. I've never, ever seen a bonanza that hockey sticked up the amount of people that utilize seller financing than they did in that market. So, Joe, we can't control inflation. We can't control rates. The market is going to go where the market's going to go. Yeah. We can look at our personal situation and say, never waste a crisis.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so we may be having that conversation if rates continue to go up. And Joe, we've polled, we've looked at a lot of different people. There's some people saying it's going to tail off, and some people, you know, this or that or whatever and stuff. And then some people say rates are going to really surge. And so I would say, Joe, if we see there's what the Fed rates are, right? And then there's what long-term mortgage rates are. And they track with each other, but they don't necessarily track exactly at the same time.
That's right. And Eddie, we are by no means saying that, you know, we're going to see 20% interest rates, right? But you know, it is what it is, right? That's what it's going to be. And you know,
do you guarantee we're not going to see 20% interest?
I cannot. That's just a thought and a prayer that we would not see 20%.
I hope we don't. I hope we don't.
Eddie, I saw we were cleaning out some of my father-in-law's, you know, he passed away papers here and about a year ago. And when you see, and I looked at closing statement, and they had built a new house in 1981 or just closing on it. And the interest rate on that loan was 18.99%.
Well, it's a lot to be said. Joe, we talked a lot about rates. Now let's talk about that's the new crunch.
Yeah.
Rates are the new crunch.
Yeah.
This is the old crunch. This is the mortgage credit availability. And basically, Joe, just to show it, then if you looked at 2011, that's when hardly nobody could get a mortgage, and the index was at about 90.
Right after the, you know, as we were floundering from the Great Recession, right?
Yeah. That index for the last 2 years has wallered around. This is what it was at its peak right before the virus, and that index now is wallered around about 125 upper. That's about 30% less people that could get a mortgage than could before the virus. We've been in a credit crunch all this time. The reason we didn't feel it so much is because there was a lack of houses listed, and there was such a demand for people to buy houses, but only the perfect people were getting a mortgage. Right. And so understand, we've been in a credit crunch. If we have a rate crunch, those collide, and we're going to see people wanting to know a lot more about creative financing.
Well, we are. And Eddie, we know because, well, you've been doing this since 1980 and I've been doing it since 1990. And there has never been a truer statement, well, than you can see right here, sir.
Well, the reality is when there is a lack of lending, something has to fill the void, right? And when money is easy, and all that, there's no void. And right there, you see when mortgage lending starts declining and people need to do business, the entrepreneur makes money solving problems other people can't solve, Joe. That's it. That's the punchline. Entrepreneurs make money solving problems other people can't solve. And if you're paying attention to us, then I will say to you that I believe that you're going to have strategies that your competition has no vision of. I think you'll have a unique advantage.
Right. Let me ask you a question, Eddie. So is it a good thing, or is it better for our business that rates are going up? I know the answer to this, but I want you to explain it, right? So because rates are going, it's not a bad thing for us in this business, is it?
I have historically done much better in contrarian markets.
Right.
I've done much better when rates or mortgages weren't available. I've done much better when there's a lot of defaulted loans in the market. Right. And that's our next thing. But that's when I've historically done better. So, Joe, let's do this. Let's hear a word from our sponsor, and then let's come back and let's talk about the other side of the fence a little bit, and that is where we're going with defaulted loans.
That's right.
Well, hello, everyone. It is Brian with the teaching team here at NoteSchool, and I'm excited that I get to be the one to invite you to the upcoming Gold in Notes class. That's right. It is a one-day deeper dive class that we call Gold in Notes because of how valuable this time spent is. This is a full day that we really get to dig into the nitty-gritty, the whole world of creative financing, not just how to acquire more deals, how to get access to more capital, how to defer a lot of the taxes for us as well as for the sellers that we're talking to, and really learn how to create your own notes. And really, once you learn how to create your own notes, this is really where we spend an entire afternoon really pulling back the curtain on what the note business is, from wholesaling notes, buying and holding performing notes to really build your wealth. I'll even show you a strategy called partials, which is by far the best wealth building tool I've ever seen in the real estate space. And we're definitely going to spend some time talking about non-performing notes, which is by far the biggest opportunity in today's marketplace, solely because of the events that have happened over the past couple of years. This is when people are not paying their mortgages, and we're going to make a lot of big money from these bad debts, and we're going to help a lot of people get a second chance. It's an absolutely fantastic day. Come spend a day really digging and discover a lot of this stuff so that you too can start building your wealth. It's a day meant to really be engaging. Bring your questions, bring your comments, bring your business problems, and we will see you there.
Okay, so seller financing, the need for seller financing, rates and stuff, Joe, is all a factor. Let's move on, Joe. We got still a good bit of stuff.
We do. You're right, but that penalty box buyer is where we help, right? So we put this in here, Eddie, just real quick, because a lot of folks, we were just talking about those rates, that the 5.13 rates or whatever. Those are the rates that the most highly qualified buyers. But then the other side of that are the non-QM lenders. And, I found that I'm going to read this, Eddie, because it really explains that non-QM mortgages include loans that cannot command a government or agency stamp of approval through Fannie and Freddie. The lenders originating in the non-QM space make use of alternative income documentation because the borrower cannot rely on conventional payment records. And who are the biggest pool of non-QM mortgage borrowers? Real estate investors, property flippers, foreign nationals, business owners, gig workers, and other self-employed workers. And really, Eddie, I think that's where we fall in with seller financing. We're really providing non-QM lending, right?
It is what it is. It's the definition of it. Is not through an institution. It's through private financing, but it's the same thing.
Yeah, this is the private label mortgage-backed security. Yeah,
and so this is a really big deal. And once again, seller financing, you can go set the rates. I can get somebody to seller finance me, Joe, at below market rates. Period.
Yep.
Right. If I'm getting a loan from somebody, if a landlord is owner financing his house and he's going to take a tax advantage and go pay out capital gains over 20 years because he's not taking the money today, but he's taking it over time, I can basically dictate the terms of the mortgage. I have learned that we can do that. And, I can set the rates at whatever rate I need it to be. And Joe, it probably won't be what they're paying right now at the bank.
Well, and that's our biggest, newest strategy at NoteSchool, right? As far as our the future is, hey, we can show you how to close a lot more notes or a lot more deals at NoteSchool, right? That's what we can do.
That's what Brian was just talking about. It's what we cover in these introductory classes. Right. And we talk about what the market is and have some unique advantages. So, all right, Joe, let's roll it.
Let's do that. And I just want to say here, Eddie, I found this and this is a big deal because the counties throughout the United States, well, property prices have been going up so crazy that they're finally catching up. And just kind of an excerpt from this story, talking about different people and rates going up. But one guy in Seattle had been approved about 3 months ago for a $450,000 loan. And because he, finally found his house and all of that, and he's ready to close, and they do a recheck right before they do that, and finds out that the property taxes on the property has gone up so much that he no longer qualifies for the loan. So instead of being able to qualify for a $450,000 loan, it chops that down to $325,000. And that is a deal that is really, really, that's the other side of this thing as well. So not just rates, but property taxes.
Affordability, and part of the affordability equation is what you're having to pay in taxes. I saw a guy at the gym last night, a guy that I know that works out at the same gym I work out at, and he said that his property tax bill was up over 30%, and that's here in Dallas-Fort Worth. So let me tell you something. This is the affordability. You can write this on the wall. This is a factor. So
it's not just what your house payment is. It's your principal, interest, taxes, and insurance that goes into your debt to income ratio. There you go.
PITI.
PITI. Eddie, let's look at this.
Well, remember our big thing, Joe, mark there in Q1 of 2020. Go back.
Right here.
And if you look right there, might want to use yellow because that blue is not kind to you, Joe.
It's not. Yeah, there you go.
And all of a sudden it fell off. And that is because they had these foreclosure moratoriums and stuff. Here's the thing, guys. We're still at less than half of the foreclosure rate that that had normalized before the virus. Okay. And so we have well over 2 million mortgages that aren't making a payment. And if we get, and they were doing about 200 foreclosures per year. If you can see that little chart there, in prior years, we were at about a normalized average of about 200,000 foreclosures a year.
Right.
We dropped to about 35,000, and you can see that band, how low it got.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, we are going to see a increase in foreclosure percentages that are going to sound abnormal. It's going to be month over month. It's just going to, 300%, 400%, 700%. We're not saying that might happen, Joe. The math says it has to happen.
Right.
It's not like that's a shocker.
Yep.
And so this just kind of shows you that we have been in an abnormal amount, and there is a gigantic pent-up inventory of non-performing notes right now. Those loans that are typically being posted for foreclosure at the moment are called legacy loans. They're loans that were delinquent before the virus. There was about 500,000 of those loans. So there's a big pile of those that are rolling over the hill. That's what we're buying right now. It's what our students are buying, and we're teaching people.
And the average of those were 30 to 60 months past due that we're buying right now.
That's it. Average delinquency is 30 to 60 months past due.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, Eddie, this is the
not days, by the way, months.
Yeah. Right, yeah.
That's 3 to 5 years.
Yeah. That's right. Eddie, this just came out, right? This is the first look, and this is Black Knight, and man, they are the Mac Daddy as far as real mortgage and real analytics here. So this is from just, a few days ago. Well, about a month ago now, less than a month ago. But Eddie, these numbers, and we can look at percentages, but I prefer to just look at the numbers, right? So this first column here, 1.513 million. This is the number of properties that are 30 or more days past due, but not in foreclosure.
Yeah.
Okay. The second number here, number of properties that are 90 days or more past due, but not in foreclosure.
Okay, so Joe, let me say this. That 694,000 is part of the 1.5.
Right.
Okay, that's inside that number.
Right.
Right.
Now, this number here, Eddie, the number of properties in foreclosure. Okay.
170,000 properties, and that is on top of the 694.
Right. Right.
Now, if you just run a quick tally here, Joe, what you see is they've added the 1.5 million, 1,513,000. They've added the 169,000 together, and so now we're looking at kind of a global number. Now, not all of these loans will end up in a foreclosure, but Joe, what they are going to end up with is in a notice of default, save and accept loans that get modified. Now, by the way, guys, these are loans that are not in forbearance. If you're in forbearance, you're not technically delinquent.
Right.
So there are about 750,000 loans in addition to are in a separate bucket. And those are loans that are in forbearance. Interesting thing is, Joe, about half of the loans, or say 40% of those loans, did not apply for a modification. 60% did apply for a modification. Other ones that were modified, Joe, more than 50% of them haven't been paying.
That's right. And Eddie, the other part of that is that it's not that they said, oh my God, we can start paying again, right? And that's why we're coming out of forbearance. It's just their forbearance plan expired, right? It was either 12 months or 18 months.
Yeah.
So it's not like they said, oh, I can start paying. It's just it expired. There was no more.
So the bottom line is, guys, this is what's not in the news. The rates are in the news every day. By the way, mortgage credit availability hasn't been in the news. It's been in NoteSchool news, but it's not in the mainstream press. Now, if you, once again, we source a lot of data from the distressed asset world or the mortgage servicing world. None of this has been a surprise in that world. Now, by the way, this report is done by Black Knight, which is one of the three major data sources. And then, so if you're in our industry, if you're deep involved in our industry, this is just normal stuff. Pretty much everybody knows this.
Right.
Right. But when we talk to real estate investors, or I speak at even super high level real estate investor events, and I give them this data, Joe, I see it in their eyes. And these are all guys that'll buy like 200 houses a year plus.
Right.
I see them lean in and they're like, what? What are you talking about, Eddie? And so understand that we believe this is shadow inventory yet to affect listings.
Right.
Yet to affect it.
That's right.
So we have several little factors that are brewing. How it's going to shake out? Listen, you can Google all this stuff just like we do. You can go read all these articles and all these reports and all this stuff just like we do. There is the biggest variance in what people think is going to happen, Joe, that I've probably seen in 10 years.
Right.
Right. There is a gigantic variance in what people think are going to happen. But let me tell you what I know is going to happen. Creative financing is going to fill a gap that conventional lending doesn't.
That's right.
Close more deals. Secondly, non-performing notes has the biggest inventory since 2012. So we have the biggest inventory, and we're in a big inventory is call it 2 million.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have an inventory of a couple of million notes. Not all of them are going to hit foreclosure, but we're going to be, just say that only 1 million got to foreclosure, Joe. And we had on an annual basis, not so you're saying, well, that graph, Eddie said 200,000 foreclosure a year. Yes, if you tally up the whole year, it's 200,000 foreclosures. And that was what Darren Bloomquist shared with us from auction.com. And they do 50% of the residential foreclosures in the United States. So understand, even Joe, if we reached half of those mortgages, that would be 5 times what the norm was prior to the virus. 5 times. So understand, is non-performing loans a big thing? It is for us.
Yeah. And
I hope you see the thing in it. And so understand that we continue to follow this data. And I can tell you this. I had a guy offline the other day, completely unrelated, wasn't a NoteSchool student, just an industry friend, and we're talking about it and stuff. And I was saying, this is what we're chasing, this is what we're focused on, this is what we're doing. He said, I assume you mean in NoteSchool. And I said, no, I mean in my shop. I mean what I spend overhead and money and an executive team spends their energy and time focusing on every day. I said, NoteSchool just simply teaches what we find voids in the market, and we're doing internally. Everything that we're discussing is not just what NoteSchool teaches, Joe, it's what we do.
It's what we do. Well, Eddie, I can say that if, we've always heard that knowledge is power, and that today in this marketplace, knowledge is certainly power.
Well, Joe, thank you. You've done a great job again. And I know you got, you will never get to all your data.
No, we can't. Yeah, that's for sure.
Houses are twice the price in Canada. Is that what it says? And then,
oh yeah, right. Houses. Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't. Yeah, oil. Still floundering. We've always kept touch with that, but I was doing a Deal Lab call yesterday, and one of our students is from Vancouver, and I said, Gus, I said, I just found an article that said that the standard home in Canada now costs twice as much as a standard home cost in the U.S. And he said, Joe, he said, honestly, he said, by anybody's standard, I live in a 1,400 square foot home. He said, I'd call it a shack. He said, it needs completely remodeling. We bought it and all that. He said, it's worth $2 million.
Crazy. Yeah. Canada, by the way, is limiting who can buy their properties.
That's right.
All right. Guys, we're gonna continue to pay attention to this. We put a lot of effort into what is a result of this monthly update. I hope it's meaningful to you. Statistically, you guys, as Joe said, you guys say you like it because it has the most looks every month that we do this, and we'll continue to do it. And we're going to continue to strategize about how to fill the void. Joe, everything else can be on fire.
Mm-hmm.
But over there's a void.
Yeah.
There's something that's inefficient.
That's right.
We have typically, in my career, made the money on what was inefficient and solving a problem. And what we've described today is a problem. The question is now, Joe, how are we going to be smart and solve it?
That's right.
And we're going to continue to have guests on that are students,
right,
that are solving and industry experts, and they are solving those problems like we're solving them. So we're going to continue to jump to what we're doing to find the bargain in the on fire market.
That's right. Well, that's what we do. That's what, and we love it. Eddie, I wouldn't call either of us nerds, but we are data nerds, right? I mean, I know I certainly have become that way. And Eddie, it's just like we say, NoteSchool, where we're going to show you how to close more deals. So thanks so much for being with us. We love putting on this show, this industry update that we do every month. Again, check in with us at noteschool.com/TV. And as we say at this time every week, we'll see you on the other side. See you guys.
Bye-bye.